Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my little corner of heartfelt stories. This is something I've kept inside for a long time. My name is Sarah. I'm 43 now, though it feels like yesterday I was in my 30s, full of energy and plans. Married to Mark for 15 years. He's steady, kind, the kind of man who remembers anniversaries and fixes things around the house without being asked. We have a good life, comfortable, predictable. His son Jake from his first marriage lives with us part-time. Jake turned 20 this year. He's tall like his dad, always laughing, always bringing friends over. The house never feels empty when he's around. One of those friends was Ethan. I remember the first time I really noticed him. It was a casual Saturday. Jake had invited a few guys over for video games and pizza. Ethan arrived last, hoodie up, earbuds in, carrying a backpack like he was ready to stay the night if needed. He said hello politely, called me Mrs. Sarah, with that slight smile that made his eyes crinkle. Nothing unusual. But as the afternoon went on, I found myself glancing at him more than I should. He was quiet compared to the others, didn't shout at the screen, didn't make crude jokes. Instead, he'd ask questions, real ones. How was your week, Mrs. Sarah? Or, did you ever play this game when you were younger? Small things, but they felt personal. Over the next few months, Ethan started coming around more often, sometimes alone, sometimes with Jake. He'd help carry groceries from the car without being asked. He'd sit at the kitchen island while I chopped vegetables for dinner, talking about college classes, his part-time job at the gym, dreams of travelling someday. I found myself opening up too, telling him about the book I was reading, or how I missed painting, something I hadn't done since Jake was little. Conversations flowed easily, too easily. I started noticing changes in myself. I'd check the mirror before coming downstairs if I knew he was there. I'd choose a nicer top, brush my hair a little longer. Silly things. Harmless, I told myself, just feeling good about myself again. But deep down, I knew it was more. When he'd leave, the house felt quieter. When he'd text Jake and accidentally reply all to the group chat with a funny meme, I'd smile at my phone like a teenager. Then came that one afternoon in July. Mark was away for a work conference, 4 days in another city. Jake had stepped out to pick up takeout. 20 minutes, he said as he left. Ethan stayed behind, sitting on the couch, scrolling his phone. I was in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of chilled white wine to calm the sudden nerves I couldn't explain. The sun was setting, casting golden light through the windows. Everything felt slow, almost dreamlike. Ethan wandered in. Mind if I grab some water? He asked. I nodded, handed him a glass. Our fingers brushed, just for a second. Electricity. I pulled back too quickly. He noticed. You okay? He said softly. I laughed it off. Just hot day. But my voice sounded different, higher, unsure. He didn't move, just stood there, looking at me like he was trying to read something written on my face. You've seemed different lately, he said. Quieter, like something's on your mind. I took a sip of wine to buy time. Life gets complicated sometimes. He stepped closer, not crowding, just enough to make the space between us feel smaller. You can tell me if you want. I don't know what made me say it. Maybe the wine. Maybe the loneliness that had been building for months. Maybe the way his eyes didn't judge. I feel invisible sometimes, I admitted. Like I'm just the mum, the wife, the one who keeps everything running. No one really sees me anymore. He was quiet for a moment. Then, I see you. 3 words, simple, but they landed like a stone in still water, ripples everywhere. I looked up, our eyes met, held, time stretched. Then he reached out, slowly, giving me every chance to stop him, and brushed his thumb across my cheek, gentle, careful. My breath caught. I didn't move away. Instead, I leaned in. Our lips met softly, tentative at first, like testing fragile ice, then deeper. His hand slid to the back of my neck, fingers threading through my hair. Mine found his chest, solid, warm. The kiss grew, not rushed, not desperate, just real, like we'd both been holding our breath for months and finally let it out. We pulled apart when we heard Jake's car in the driveway, hearts racing, faces flushed. We stepped back, guilty, breathless. Ethan whispered, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have," but I shook my head. "Don't be." Jake walked in with pizza boxes, oblivious. "Food's here, let's eat." The rest of the evening was normal on the surface, laughter, jokes, but underneath everything had shifted. That kiss stayed with me all night. In bed next to Mark, who was still away, I replayed it over and over. The softness of his lips, the way he held me like I mattered. Guilt came too, sharp, heavy. What was I doing? This was Jake's friend. My stepson's age almost, wrong on every level, and yet I didn't regret it, not fully. For the first time in years, I felt seen, wanted, alive. That was the beginning, a spark in the dark, one that refused to go out. If you've ever felt that unexpected pull towards someone you shouldn't, you know how powerful it can be. Part 2 is coming soon, where the moments became harder to resist and the secrets grew heavier. After that first kiss in the kitchen, the one that happened so suddenly and felt so right in the moment, everything changed, even though on the outside nothing looked different. Life kept moving. Laundry, dinners, work calls, Jake's college updates. But inside me there was a quiet storm. The days after that afternoon were strange. Ethan didn't come over right away. Maybe he was giving space. Maybe he was as scared as I was. But the texts started, small ones at first. "Hey, Mrs. Sarah, Jake said you were looking for that recipe book. I found a PDF if you want it." Innocent, helpful. Then they became more personal. "Saw this sunset photo today and thought of how you always talk about golden hour light for painting." He remembered things I'd said in passing, little details no one else noticed anymore. I'd reply carefully, short, friendly, but my heart would jump every time my phone lit up. Mark would be in the next room watching TV, and I'd feel a pang of guilt just holding the phone. What was I doing? This wasn't me. I was the responsible one, the one who planned family vacations, who made sure everyone had clean socks and something warm for dinner. Yet here I was, smiling at a screen like a schoolgirl, because a 20-year-old boy remembered I liked sunsets. A week later, Ethan showed up with Jake again. They were working on some college project, something about marketing or graphics. I offered snacks like always, chips, dip, iced tea. Ethan thanked me, our eyes meeting for just a second longer than necessary. That look, it carried everything unsaid. I felt heat rise in my cheeks and turned away quickly, busying myself with dishes. Later, when Jake went upstairs to grab his laptop, Ethan lingered in the kitchen. "Can I help?" he asked. I handed him a towel. We stood side by side at the sink, silent at first. Then he spoke softly. "I haven't stopped thinking about that day." I swallowed. Me neither. I know it's complicated, he continued. I don't want to make your life harder, but I can't pretend it didn't happen. I dried my hands, turned to face him. It shouldn't have happened. You're Jake's friend. I'm old enough to know better. You're not old, he said quietly. You're incredible, and I'm not a kid. I know what I feel. The air felt thick. I wanted to step back. I wanted to step closer. Instead, I just stood there. He reached out, slowly, and took my hand. His thumb traced small circles on my palm, soothing, electric. We stayed like that until we heard Jake's footsteps on the stairs. Hands dropped, normal faces on again. That became our pattern. Stolen glances, quick touches when no one was looking, a brush of fingers passing a plate, a hand on my lower back as he moved past me in the hallway. Each one felt like a secret shared. Each one made the guilt sharper and the pull stronger. Then came the weekend that tested everything. Jake announced he was going camping with friends, Friday night through Sunday. Mark had a golf tournament out of town. The house would be empty. I told myself I'd use the time to paint, to read, to get my head straight. But when Ethan texted Thursday night, Jake told me about the weekend. You going to be okay alone? I replied honestly, I don't know. He came over Friday evening, no pretense of homework or hanging out, just him at the door, looking nervous for the first time. I just wanted to make sure you're all right, he said. We sat on the porch swing as the sun went down, talked for hours, about his fears of not living up to expectations, about how I sometimes felt like I'd lost parts of myself along the way, the artist, the dreamer. He listened, really listened, no interruptions, no advice, just presence. As stars appeared, he turned to me. Sarah. He dropped the misses for the first time. It felt intimate, vulnerable. I looked at him. What are we doing, Ethan? I don't know, he admitted, but being near you feels right, even if it's messy. I didn't answer with words. Instead, I leaned in. Our lips met again, slower this time, deeper. His arms wrapped around me gently. We kissed like we had all the time in the world. Hands stayed respectful, on my back, in my hair, holding me close. It wasn't about rushing. It was about feeling, about being held, seen, cherished in a way that had faded from my daily life. We moved inside eventually, to the living room, candles lit because the soft light felt safer somehow. We sat on the couch, close. More kisses, soft whispers, his head resting on my shoulder, my fingers in his hair. Time blurred. We talked between kisses, about nothing and everything, laughed quietly at how ridiculous it all was, cried a little too, because the weight of it was real. We fell asleep like that, tangled together on the couch, fully clothed, just holding each other. No more than that, but it felt like everything. Morning came too soon. We woke to birdsong and reality. He left before anyone could see, but he left a note on the kitchen counter. Thank you for last night, for letting me in. I'll wait however long you need. I folded it carefully, hid it in my jewellery box, and spent the rest of the weekend alone with my thoughts. Guilt was louder now. Every time Mark called to check in, I felt like a liar. Every time Jake texted a camping photo, I remembered whose friend I was falling for. But the memory of Ethan's arms around me, that warmth, it lingered like perfume on skin. I knew we couldn't keep going like this, not without someone getting hurt, but walking away felt impossible too. After that weekend on the couch, those quiet hours of closeness, whispers and simply being held, the guilt didn't just whisper anymore, it roared. I woke up the next morning with Ethan gone, his note folded in my jewellery box like a secret letter from another life. The house felt too big, too empty. Mark called that afternoon from his golf trip. "Miss you? Everything okay at home?" His voice was warm, familiar. I answered with a smile in my tone. "All good here, just relaxing." But inside my stomach twisted. I was lying to the man who'd built a life with me, the man who trusted me completely. The days that followed were a tightrope walk. Ethan and I texted less. Careful messages, nothing that could be misinterpreted if someone saw. But the pull didn't fade. If anything, it grew sharper, because we both knew how fragile it was. When he came over with Jake, we kept distance. Polite hellos, no lingering in the kitchen, no accidental touches. But our eyes, they still found each other across the room. A quick glance that said everything we couldn't say out loud. I started questioning everything. Was this just loneliness, a midlife crisis, or something real? I'd sit in my studio, the little room I'd turned into a painting space years ago, and stare at blank canvases. Colours I used to love felt dull. I'd pick up a brush, then put it down. The inspiration I'd felt with Ethan talking about art, it was gone when he wasn't there. That scared me more than anything. I didn't want to need someone else to feel creative again. I wanted to find that spark inside myself. Then came the Saturday that almost ended it all. Mark had left early for another round of golf, out by 7 a.m, wouldn't be back until evening. Jake was supposed to be at college for a study group. He'd texted the night before. "Heading back late tonight, don't wait up." I believed him. So when Ethan messaged, "Can I come by, just to talk?" I said yes. I told myself it would be different this time. We'd sit on the porch, keep space, have an honest conversation about stopping before anyone got hurt. He arrived around noon. We started on the porch like I planned, talked about school, his upcoming internship, my half-finished paintings. But the conversation drifted. He asked how I was really feeling. I admitted the guilt was eating at me. "I don't want to hurt Mark, or Jake, or you." He nodded. "I don't either, but being away from you, it hurts too." Silence settled, heavy. Then he reached for my hand. I let him take it. We moved inside, away from the open porch, into the living room. Candles weren't lit this time. Daylight streamed through the windows. We sat on the couch, closer than we should. He pulled me gently into his arms. I rested my head on his shoulder. No rush, just breathing together. His hand stroked my back in slow circles, comforting, familiar. We kissed, soft at first, then deeper. Hands stayed gentle, on my waist, in my hair. It felt like coming home and breaking rules at the same time. We talked between kisses, quiet confessions. "I've never felt this way before," he whispered, "like someone truly sees me." I told him the same, that with him I felt young again, valued, not invisible. Time slipped. We were lost in that bubble, holding each other, whispering, laughing softly at how impossible it all was. Then the garage door rumbled. Jake, home early. My heart stopped. We froze, still tangled on the couch. Footsteps from the garage into the kitchen. "Sarah, you here? Forgot my charger." Panic flooded me. Ethan's eyes went wide. I whispered, "Upstairs, back way, quiet." He moved fast, silent as a shadow, slipped up the back stairs to the hallway window and out onto the small balcony, then down the trellis like he'd planned an escape route. I smoothed my hair, straightened my shirt, forced my breathing to slow. By the time Jake walked into the living room, I was standing by the window, pretending to look at the garden. "Hey, surprise visit," he said, grinning. "Study group got cancelled. Thought I'd grab some stuff and head back." I smiled, shaky, but I hoped it looked normal. Good surprise. Hungry? I can make sandwiches. He hugged me quickly. Yeah, starving. You okay? Face is kinda red. Hot in here, I lied. A sea's acting up. He laughed and headed to the kitchen. I followed, legs like jelly. From the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan's shadow disappear around the side of the house. Gone. The rest of the day was normal on the surface. Jake ate, chatted about classes, left again. Mark came home later, kissed my cheek, asked about my day. I said it was quiet, peaceful, but inside I was shaking. That close call was the wake-up I needed. The fear of Jake walking in, of seeing his stepmum and his best friend together, hit like cold water. What if he had? What if he'd heard something? The trust in our family would shatter. Mark's heart would break. Jake's friendship with Ethan would end. And me? I'd lose everything I'd built. I texted Ethan that night. We can't. Not anymore. It's too dangerous. His reply came hours later. I know. Hurts like hell, but I get it. Thank you for everything, for letting me see you. I'll always care. No more texts after that. Clean break. Life moved forward slowly. Jake graduated the next year. Proud moment, tears in my eyes. He moved to a city job. Ethan went his own way. Internship turned into a career path far from here. Mark and we kept going. Some days were routine. Some days I'd catch him looking at me like he used to, and I'd remember why I chose him. We started small things again. Date nights, weekend walks. I picked up painting seriously, sold a few pieces online, found pieces of myself I'd lost. The memory of Ethan doesn't haunt me anymore. It's a quiet chapter, bittersweet. A reminder that feelings can surprise us at any age, that it's possible to feel deeply wanted again. But also a lesson. Some connections are better left as moments, not lifetimes. I don't regret feeling alive. I regret the secrecy. If I could go back, I'd find a way to rediscover that spark inside my marriage, or alone, without risking so much. This story ends here, not dramatically, just quietly. Life continues, hearts heal, we learn. Thank you for listening to all 3 parts, for giving space to these complicated feelings without judgment. If any of this resonated, if you've ever walked that line between desire and duty, know you're not alone. Drop a final heart if the whole story touched you. Subscribe if you'd like more gentle, real-life feeling tales. Maybe lighter ones next, about second chances, friendships, or rediscovering joy. Sweet, peaceful dreams. And be gentle with your own heart. It's doing its best.